Is a final day of this all-important gathering where obviously it's all about shaping the agenda, refining those objectives, but really to shed more light, we're joined by South Africa's Sherpa. Mr. Dangor, once again, sir, thank you so much for your time. So it's a final day. Maybe just take us through to those discussions. Are they productive? Are they fruitful?
The discussions were productive and they were fruitful. I think the atmosphere in the room was conducive to discussions. We created and deliberately created a safe space for delegations to express their views, and they did so. And it all helped shape what we think would be a good leaders' declaration, whether it's on the task forces, on the key issues on indebtedness, on climate change, on the importance of gender justice, environmental justice, social justice issues, with of course, a focus on the necessary global macroeconomic changes, which the finance track and other working groups are working on. I think the Sherpas and the teams that came to the meeting were really well prepared to help us to work through the difficult issues. And there were not many difficult issues that emerged in this meeting. So I think we're on track to get a really good leaders' declaration out.
And just once again, DG, when we look at the non-attendance of the U.S., we know that you have been engaging with the U.S., you went to America, you briefed the UN General Assembly about South Africa's priorities. How concerned are you, especially when we look at November, where we're expecting a very seamless transition from the perspective of the Troika between South Africa, Brazil, and the U.S.?
So the Troika will actually be setting up a virtual meeting quite soon to discuss how we brief, firstly, the U.S., who were not able to make this meeting, on the very good discussions that took place. We will also be able to ascertain whether this apology for this meeting is a once-off or whether it will continue right up until the end. So it's too soon to say. I think hopefully that it is a once-off and we can then brief them, and it's better to have countries in the room to engage rather than them not being in the room and the issues being left out, particularly as they will be the president next year.
Before we let you go, DG, we'll remember during the course of the previous meeting, one of the major issues had to do with the tariffs, the sweeping tariffs and the destabilization of the global economy. But issues around peace and security, the current situation in Sudan, the current situation in the Middle East, the fragile ceasefire between Iran and Israel. But you look at that, quite a catastrophe that is still unfolding in Gaza amid other issues as well.
So we had a good session on the geopolitical issues. Again, the G20 isn't designed to deal with geopolitical issues because it's a grouping of small, 20 countries, and geopolitical issues need to be dealt with at the UN. But we also agree that we can't shy away from the geopolitical issues given the nature of the conflicts and crises we see and the impact that they do have on development. We really had some good insights from the WHO on the crisis, the manner in which, for example, attacks on hospitals and health infrastructure is impacting on development, health development. We got a sense from the ILO, for example, and others on just how crises and conflicts impact on growth. So we have to have some really good, language on this. We've agreed that we will focus on what brings us together, and that is a commitment to international law, the UN Charter, and that there should be no exceptions for any individuals or countries to be held accountable for breaches of international law. And I think that is what we focused on in this session, because that kind of exceptionality gives rise to impunity. And we've seen that, for example, in Gaza.